All right, Panther, I just got done talking about what the defense looked like when Federico and Guillermo Diaz-Graham shared the floor together for the very first time this season, predominantly talking about that stretch in the first half after Blake Hinson had picked up a second foul, and then Boston College went on a 12-2 run. This is what Jeff Capel went with. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the offense and kind of how that looked with Guillermo and Federico on the floor together. Now, I think one of the things that really is beneficial to have Guillermo on the floor offensively is that he is a gifted passer. He really can't put the ball on the floor, but that's not really the end of the world because like Zach Austin doesn't really put the ball on the floor that well. I don't think they're like that different in that regard. Also, Guillermo at 7 foot is a huge target. Definitely can hit threes at a much higher clip than Zach Austin. So you're talking about, low 20s versus nearly 40%. So I think there are some advantages that way. You lose a little bit from perimeter defensive standpoint. Honestly, I think Austin's one of the better rim protectors, especially from the weak side on the team. So there's a little bit of a trade-off here, but I think Capel is looking for something to get Pitt back into their offense. Not that they were turning the ball over, not that they're taking bad shots, just wanted another more potent offensive player out there with Hinson in foul trouble and Will Jeffers just not really providing that much offensively. So take a look at one of these early possessions together. Pitt just running pretty much their standard offense. We see this every single game. But what is interesting here and what I think is different about what Pitt would run if Austin was in this role here is that, when Guillermo goes out here and clears out to the corner, he's going to leave his man, McLaughlin, as the low man here. And again, when Low is just so good against in ball screen situations, really good job changing angle of screen there by Fetty. He's been pretty good with this last couple games. Low does such a good job of keeping his man on his hip, plus engaging the ball screener's defender. So now it's pretty much like a 2-on-1 here, which means that it is a 4-on-3 elsewhere in Pitt's favor. And Guillermo, has his hands up really hard to miss here in the corner. That little bump by Federico, I think, holds McLaughlin for an extra beat, and the result is Guillermo's second three-pointer of the game at that point. And so what you might not expect here, Pitt's going to run their standard offense, but they're going to go to that Spain pick and roll look. And so, of all the things to go to with the two bigs, this is what it's going to be. Not exactly perfectly timed per se, but what this is going to do consistently, it's going to take the two biggest players out of the picture if they're both up here on the perimeter, and any drive towards the rim by any of the guards involved here, well, now you have two crashing bigs for potentially offensive rebounds and dunks and putbacks. So this isn't really the worst alignment when you think of it that way. If Guillermo kind of flares out here and then Fetty starts to roll, if Carrington were to get all the way to the basket and lay this in, there's now two bigs like crashing behind guys ready to get offensive rebounds. So from a schematic standpoint, I think this makes a lot of sense. Bub turns the corner here. They switched everything, gets a nice lob into Fetty, and Fetty gets the and one here, although missed the free throw. And again, we're going to see them go back to the Spain pick and roll pretty much towards the end of the half. Bub is going to, and a lot of switching here, so they'd like to do this paint switch, so they know the rolling guy, the guy that was on Guillermo, is just going to camp here and then just take Fetty here switching. A nice flare by Guillermo, and now we are in mismatch situations here. We have Carrington's man Matson on Guillermo. We have Guillermo's original guy on Fetty, and now we have Fetty on Fetty's defender on Carrington. So mismatches everywhere. And Pitt just did a really good job of taking advantage of these mismatches and kind of going at them, very unselfish of them to constantly attack the mismatches. 3 guys converge on Fetty on the catch. So that is that's letting you know, again, I think I tweeted that out. Pitt was feeling it when 3 guys are going to converge on Fetty. Good read, good patience. Guillermo, good job attacking the hard closeout, and then he ends up getting fouled. So again, we know Guillermo's not the best guy putting on the ball on the floor, but I don't think he's really necessarily any worse than Austin. So you don't really lose anything in that regard. Austin's not this big-time slasher, so the fact that Guillermo can put the ball on the floor as well, but Guillermo's going to demand a harder closeout because he is a better shooter. So this is an interesting alignment. I think if Pitt doesn't bleed a lot defensively, which in this matchup they didn't with these two on the floor, they could definitely go to this a little bit more. Offensively, I think there's a lot of pluses here. It also allows you to rest a guard depending on your alignment as well. So if you're going to put out Federico, you're going to put out Guillermo Diaz-Graham, and then you put out Blake Hinson in one of the 2 guards, well, now you find a way to rest Carrington a little bit, rest Jalen Lowe a little bit, rest Ishmael Leggett a little bit, and I think that's important as well to maybe also potentially mitigate some foul trouble. So this is an interesting lineup. I think Pitt will go to this a little bit more. It is matchup dependent, but again, I said in the prior video, I think Pitt's going to want to play 7 guys a little bit more than 8 guys as they continue to progress in the season, so this should be a lineup that I think they're going to use more and more and more.